Chapter 4. Staring at my phone, I debated whether I should call John. He had not reached out to me since our conversation 3 days ago, and a part of me was deeply saddened by this. 10 years together, and in the end, he couldn't even be bothered to fight for us. I knew he was angry that I left the way I did. I had not handled myself with grace, but there was nothing graceful left in our marriage. It had been tattered and broken for so long now, I had forgotten who we were before the damage, and I wondered if there was even anything left of us to fight for. Sighing, I began to pick at my nails, falling into the comforting feeling of ripping away at something, the sting of tender exposed skin creating a buffer between my emotions. From where I sat at the kitchen table of the cottage, I could see Peter walking through the pasture with Dusty. We had not spoken since our breakfast together the day before. All I got from him was a brief nod and greeting when I had passed by on my way back from the store, my arms full of groceries. There was a hesitancy between us. I could feel it like a guarded creature lingering in the shadows, but I felt compelled to push past it. I didn't want to spend my free time hiding away in the cottage. The stillness felt too heavy on me. I needed movement. The creak of the pasture gate as I opened it alerted him to my presence, and he turned in my direction, raising his hand in a silent greeting. "Hey there, Peter." My voice came out tentative as I approached him. He gave me a nod as he slid his hands into his pockets, his gaze slanting off into the distance behind me. The glare of the mid-afternoon sun hit him, illuminating streaks of auburn hidden within the strands of his dark hair. "Are you settling in all right?" "Yes, I am. I went to go get some groceries yesterday, and it's a really cute little town." He only smiled, and I nervously twined my hands together as we stood there in silence for a moment. Peter's eyes flickered around, as if trying to gauge my intentions, and I suddenly felt foolish for approaching him like this. "Well, I was just going to take a little walk." "Would you like to meet the horses, Laura?" A large smile spread across my face, grateful for his invitation. "I would love to." Peter gave a sharp whistle, and the 3 horses appeared from the far edge of the pasture. They trotted toward us, their sleek and powerful muscles contracting against the dappled sunlight. I had never been this close to a horse before, and the sheer size of them filled me with a sense of awe. "Just hold out your hand to them," Peter said. The chocolate-covered one stepped closer to me and swept the soft velvet of its nose against my fingers, nudging my palm with a sudden warmth breath. Peter ran his hand across its back. "This one's Penny." He then moved to trail his hand through the thick mane of the ebony horse standing beside him. "And this guy's Spirit, and Ginger's probably being shy somewhere out there in the pasture," he said with a faint chuckle. The chestnut mare watched us from a distance, appearing to be in a state of agitated indecision as she tossed her head back and forth. "How are you able to tell them apart?" "Oh, that's easy. They each have their own unique personalities. I've had Penny and Spirit for almost 10 years now, and Ginger over there is Penny's yearling. She's still learning and can be quite skittish at times." Peter clicked his tongue, and Ginger began to take small, cautious steps closer to us. "Penny's the big lover around here and is always the first one to say hi." Peter chuckled as Penny nudged against the both of us, looking for a handout. "Well, Spirit is more stoic. He prefers his solitude." Pulling out a slice of apple from his pocket, he gestured for me to take it. "Would you like to feed her?" "Sure." I reached for the apple and held it out to Penny. "Just keep your hand open with your fingers flat." Penny took the apple gently between her teeth, her whiskers tickling my palm. I ran my fingers over her shiny coat, which was sleek and warmed from the sun, her back rippling like water beneath my touch. I stepped closer, breathing in her rich, earthy scent. "They're so beautiful." A sudden reverence overcame me as I stood beside Penny and looked into the depths of her soft eyes. "Some of the most intelligent and intuitive animals I've ever known. They have saved me in so many ways." He looked wistful as he spoke, and for the first time I noticed the startling brilliance of color within his eyes as the light caught them, swirling ethereal flecks of blue and brown against green. I lost myself in them for a moment before my cheeks began to flush, and I forced myself to look away, feeling like a voyeur. "And do you still ride them?" "I do." Peter stroked the length of Spirit's back. It's a dance of trust, one in which they become my eyes. It's incredibly freeing for me to relinquish my control over to an animal. I've never ridden a horse before. Peter cocked his head, a look of amusement hovering in his eyes. Is that so? Yeah, I've always wanted to. I just never got the chance, I guess. Standing beside him, I realized how vastly different my life was from his. Peter was open meadows and tall grass, while I was dense forests and scattered sunlight. Well, I think we should change that, don't you? A wide smile spread across his face. I could take you riding sometime if you like. His offer drew forth a swell of interest which burst through the low-laying fog of my emotions. I'd like that. Peter nodded, looking thoughtful. I used to lead therapy rides for people. A lot of them were troubled youth or those overcoming addiction or depression. We'd spend a few days up in the mountains, camping under the stars with no distractions, just stillness and sky. That sounds really nice. This knowledge of him softened me. He understood fragility and the stumbling steps we took to find ourselves again. I sighed and looked up at the delicate wisps of clouds, which hung above like spun sugar. The sun on my skin was a blanket of heat enfolding me as the horses grazed between us. There was something comforting in his presence, and it quieted the space inside me. I think I could use some of that right now. Couldn't we all? There was a flash of something sorrowful within the depths of Peter's eyes, and for a moment it felt as if he could see me. The days of summer passed before me. The optimism of July had given way to a languid August, and I fell into an easy rhythm of working with the horses alongside Peter. His moods were much like the weather, at times animated and light, other times brooding, his silence infusing the space between us. And every few days I would drive into town and stock up on provisions, running through the shopping list that Miriam had outlined for me, our correspondence punctuated by brief checkups through text. I had a lot of free time as well, and at first, the discomfort of my thoughts weighed heavily on me. The unspoken words between me and John, the damage we couldn't erase, and all the prowling memories which wanted to rush in with their sharp claws, tearing away at the tender layers of my skin. I would find myself restlessly pacing the cottage, trying to push back the tide of emotions that threatened to consume me, but then I would step outside and breathe in the air, which smelled of grass and earth, watching the gentle sway of the aspen trees that grew beside the pasture, like a consoling whisper against the unbroken blue of the sky, and everything in my mind would grow quiet. Dusk had fallen in soft colors that spilled through the window as I curled up on the couch with a glass of wine in my hand, the phone cradled against my ear like a lifeline. I had finally made contact with Sasha, the one person who still managed to anchor me. I'm so sorry I haven't been able to talk. I had absolutely no cell reception at that 2-week dance retreat up in the mountains. So what's going on, Laura? Sasha's words were thick with concern. I left him. There was a pause on the other end as Sasha let out a long exhale. Well, it's about time. Sasha did not mince her words. We had been friends since grade school, and she had always been unflinchingly honest. It was one of the many things I loved about her. Though she was far away in New York teaching dance, the distance never affected the closeness between us. Her voice was a comfort that filled the room, as if she were sitting on the couch beside me. I know. So what happened? I took a deep breath as memories from that night rushed forward. I panicked. I woke up from a dream, and I knew that I had to get out of there, that if I didn't leave at that moment, I might never find the strength to do it. Wow. Sasha paused for a moment. I know how hard that must have been for you to do, but I gotta say, I'm really proud of you for doing it. Have you guys talked since you left? Just once, about 2 weeks ago, when I first got into Montana. He was pretty pissed, and then he hung up on me. I shifted my legs up onto the couch and took a large gulp of wine, letting the warm burn settle in my stomach. What an asshole. Sasha's words fell heavy on me. I knew she had never been terribly fond of John. She had told me once how he stifled my energy, but I had been pregnant and hopeful when we got married, and I believed that becoming a dad would relax his constant need to control everything in his life. And it did, for a while. I blinked back the tears that threatened to surface. Was it stupid of me to hope that leaving would, I don't know, wake him up? No, honey, not at all. Her voice grew soft. But you know that he's been checked out for years. I just wonder how much of this is my fault. I began to pull at the tassels on one of the couch cushions. I've been angry with him for so long. And you have every right to be, Laura. Honestly, I'm shocked that you stayed with him as long as you did. I know. My words hung like a heavy sigh as I glanced out the window to see Dusty running through the pasture with Peter off in the distance. The visual was a comforting contrast against the press of my melancholy thoughts. As if she could feel the weight on my end, Sasha shifted the topic. So you're in Montana, huh? What's it like out there? Tell me all about it. With a sigh, I sank back into the couch. It's so peaceful. I really like it here. I'm staying in this cute little cottage on this guy Peter's property in exchange for work. He's blind, so I've been helping him out with his horses and doing grocery runs every few days. But for the most part, I have a lot of free time. Well, that sounds nice. There was a pause, and the distant sound of traffic filtered in through the phone. I knew she was sitting on the open window ledge of her apartment, her favorite place to perch and watch the city down below. Okay, so tell me a little bit about this guy, Peter. Well, he's around my age, I think. He's interesting, a bit closed off sometimes, but then other times he can be really sweet. As I spoke, I realized that even though I didn't know much about him, there was some unspoken current between us, and I had a mild curiosity to explore the boundaries of what that could be. Laura, Sasha's voice grew playful, and I could envision that slow, teasing smile of hers. Are you attracted to this guy? Heat rose to my cheeks like a flush of shame, and I tried to push the feeling away as I fiddled with the stem of my wineglass. No, what makes you say that? Sasha chuckled. Because I know you. And when your voice gets all wistful like that, it could only mean one thing. Well, he is attractive, but I'm in absolutely no state of mind right now to entertain thoughts like that. And why not? In a way, you're free now. I mean, don't completely close yourself off to the possibility of something new. You and John both left your marriage a long time ago. I mean, you guys haven't even been intimate in over 3 years. That makes me really sad. I can't imagine going that long without being touched. Squeezing my eyes closed for a moment, I tried to remember what my own desire felt like before it had become nothing more than another casualty of loss. Sasha, this is just a work trade arrangement until I can figure out my next step. And do you have any idea what that next step is? I sighed and finished off my glass of wine with a quick tilt of my head. I have no clue.